Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to All Roads Lead to Rome. This is episode 50, an interlude with the Eternal Senate. All Roads Lead to Rome is a Vampire the Masquerade game set in the Dark Ages, and it is for mature audiences only. Hope you have a great evening and enjoy listening. Okay, guys, welcome back. We are on session 50. So, yay for us.
The half century.
We are going to switch gears a little bit. And tonight is going to be much more political. So we are actually playing an Eternal Senate vote tonight. Everybody has a character they've volunteered to play, or in the case of Miss Phoenicia, got last dibs, so she got the one that was left.
In her case, got volunteered.
Yeah, pretty much.
I will be handling the Lamdiel the Malkavian as the arbiter of the session, and I'll be playing Redolinia, the Nosferatu member. Our BSP, aka Albina, will be playing Artemis as soon as he arrives. Govin, aka Hatshepsut, is going to take over Trifosa for tonight as a non-voting member. Miss Phoenicia, or Labiena as you know her, is going to be playing Cretius, and Nicodemus has volunteered to play Valoronius the Ventru, and Denez, or Sybil, is playing Bester the Toreador.
Wait, nobody's playing the Malkavian?
Yes, Govin
That's
is playing
me.
the Malkavian.
Okay.
Luke
Right.
is playing the Malkavian.
So,
Mhm.
you have all been called forth to hear the request of Redolinius. He has summoned you all to the Eternal Senate to hold a vote on recompense for one of his Nosferatu has been disenfranchised by a project of the Prince. Now, the Prince has declared that nobody will interfere with the construction of the Via Appia, the Appian Way, as it is known. It is just finishing up construction, and the construction has taken away some domain from Telecles, a Nosferatu. So, we begin. Everyone is arriving at the Temple of Jupiter Statter. They have you all file in. You gaze at the statuary, take your seats. Lamdiel steps up, takes his spot beneath the painted statue of Jupiter Stator, and proceeds with the invocation. May the gods of justice and balance guide our actions here tonight and lead us to the fair decision. Redolinia, as the caller of this session, I grant you the opening remarks. So Redolinia steps up. He's wearing very baggy clothes, no toga, nothing to indicate any kind of status or station. He has bulging eyes and a very saggy throat, greenish skin. It's a very distinct froggy look to him, even an odor. Even his hands are large and they look vaguely amphibian. August members of this body, under normal circumstances, the mere construction of a simple road would be of no concern to the entire assemblage. However, Princeps Camillus has stepped forth with a proclamation of non-interference. While we do support the Princeps, this decree has proven to be an issue for one member of my clan, and a client, Telecles. I hereby ask this body to make a proclamation of redress to the Princeps, asking for suitable recompense for his participation to the Princeps decree. We ask that he be granted permission to establish a man on the toll booths to collect a portion of the fee for use of the road as recompense for loss of territory. As stated in the call of assemblage, I reserve the right to change the price to one of suitable equivalency should this be unpalatable to the Senate. And he sits down, and Lomdeal steps back up. I shall open by asking if there are any that oppose the motion. Are there any opposed?
Auto-kick the question. Opposed to like all, or at least one thing?
Opposed to having a recompense.
Wait, shit, I have to check what that word means.
Being paid back for losing territory. Being recomped.
Yeah.
Are we looking specifically at the bribes right now?
He is asking, is anybody opposed at all to the concept of him getting something in return right now?
Basically just makes a head movement that means like, no, I'm cool with it, kind of. Something.
Yes, he wants to know, does anybody just like want to say, fuck the Nosferatu, you don't get anything?
Valerianus raises a hand very casually, as if to want to indicate that he'd like to voice his doubts.
We hereby recognize the Honorable Valerianus.
Valerianus raises from his seat. Esteemed Eternal Senates, may I start my proclamations by acknowledging this humble body, these assembly of great minds, and express my applaud about the recent tax reforms. It seems that the Senate of the kin must be guided properly to ensure the proper guidance of Rome in these tiring times, and I applaud the recent reconciliation upon the latest subject. However, when it comes to the current issue, the Via Appia Road, as it begins to be called, is something that will benefit the Rome greatly. The expanded trade routes, the proper passageways through Rome is something that will change the face of Rome greatly. And it is not something that we can simply let slide through as another point of division between ourselves. With Carthage being down on its knees, we've come to embrace the completely new age of thinking and complete new age of change, mercantile and wisdom that is coming through to our gates. And for this, we need to be ready with proper infrastructure, with proper dynamics of change. This road, that by this vote, and Valerianus looks to Redolinia for a brief moment to acknowledge that this thing has been brought by this member of the Senate. And this thing that we're elaborating at this moment is a gateway to the new foundations, to the new face of Rome that will bring up the echoes through the through the Mediterranean Sea. We are the are the proper power in this, and with Carthage subdued, all the mercantile will flow through us properly. Surely, Red Alenia has to see that this is not the loss, but this is of opportunity. And the new road, the new construction will bear great fruits to whoever who controls the avenues of this installation. Hereby I claim that the prince's decree is a very rightful one, for this construction, this road will yield great benefits for, well, this will bear great fruits for the kin, but will also, by extension, bear great fruits for our kind as well. And by so, I see that Hedalinia and his client are the fortunate ones to have the establishments in its wake. And by so, I see no reason to acknowledge to these claims, because in the long run, whoever has some portion of control over Via Appia is going to benefit the most. These small missteps currently are only something that's going to be a minor inconveniences, and in the long run will bear greater benefits. Esteemed Eternal Senate members, I do not see why this notion has to be processed at all, for it is a great boon to have mortgage in this in the wake of Via Appia. A madman would say that perhaps they should have some sort of fee to have it. Eternal Senate members, we should not agree to any recompense, for it is Redolinian's client who benefits from the construction of this road. And with this, Valerianus bows deeply for allowing for this chance to speak and sits down.
Namdiel steps back up, or Lamdiel, sorry. Says, before allowing a rebuttal, does there anyone else wish to speak? No? Very well then. Redolinia will be allowed a brief moment to issue remarks, then we shall call a 5-minute recess for private discussion, and then we shall hold a vote. The vote shall be to debate and settle on a solution for payback, or to hold the matter as closed and there shall be no payback to the Nosferatu. Now, Redolinia steps up. Thank you to everyone. The Honorable Valerianus believes that the mere presence of the road is of benefit to us. How can the presence be of benefit when we are unable by decree to benefit? to seek out contacts, to establish guardianship. In fact, our domain is decreased by this road. It is injured. How does that help us to leave it alone? No. We hereby implore our Senate brethren to see the wisdom in allowing Telecles to establish a small and suitable inroads to the Via Appia. Should a portion of the bribes not be acceptable, we have indicated that we would accept free travel through the roads in the domain of Artemis, or expanded feeding grounds for Telecles, or the right to have and take some of the supplies for our own projects. Thank you. Lomdale steps up. There will be a short recess for individual consultations. He takes an hourglass. He says, when the sands of this hourglass run out in 5 minutes, we will call for a vote. So, now is the time for you guys to discuss individual favors, boons, anything like that.
Like,
Splendid. Valerius was keeping a close watch upon how he's been a Senate member for a while now. He's been keeping an eye on how the assembly was reacted to his words about rejecting the claim on the basis of that in the long run, Nosferatu are going to benefit Theocles.
Well, let's explore that. Bester, how do you react to these arguments? What are your thoughts?
okay. So should I roleplay or should
Yes,
I just
roleplay.
describe what?
Discuss it. Explain what you're thinking.
Okay.
Maybe indicate that you're willing to do some horse trading here, and with either the Nosferatu or with Valeronius to support their position.
First and foremost, do I have to like raise my hand or?
No, we're in an individual consultations here. So Valeronius has asked. I've been reading their faces. What do I see? So what does Bester show? What is his thoughts right now?
Oh, okay. So if he looked at the Bester's emotions while the Nosferatu talked about what they wanted, he would see something like how to say it, empathy, empathizing with the Nosferatu. But of course, naturally a little bit of disgust, and he would also see rather a numb other than those two. So it was like empathy a little bit, like showing that he understands the problem, but otherwise there's not much he is trying to give away.
Okay. How about Crethius? What does Crethius show?
Well, Crethius, as he was sitting there, was basically, again, probably not showing terribly much. Maybe nodding a little, agreeing with part of it, but also kind of going, no. Thinking to himself, they probably deserve, some form of recompense. Just no need for bribes, but perhaps for agreeing with one of his other suggestions, and is willing to discuss that.
Okay. How about Tryphosa? Tryphosa is not a voting member, but her opinion is given a great deal of weight.
Throughout the process, the small hints that would have been betrayed by Trifosa's expression would have been conflicted. She shows clear. She does show a small degree of disdain for Redolinius, but doesn't seem entirely opposed to the suggestion. Um, were she more free to do so, she might well be mumbling to herself to think it over, but she doesn't want to draw too. She doesn't want to distract anyone else too much.
Okay? So, Valeronius, you have watched the play of face influence and faces, seeing where they agree and disagree. Do you approach anybody?
Hmm. He's going to approach.
I should say, since BSP is not here for Artemis.
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay.
He is.
Didn't realize you were on. I'm sorry. How much of that did you catch?
What Artemis is?
Artemis learned obfuscate from the Nosferatu.
So how much of that did you catch?
Everything. He's been.
Yes, I see since the beginning of the Valeronius speech.
Okay. So what does Artemis show during the speech?
Well, she tries to keep a straight face, not showing much emotion, but when Valeronius talks about not offering any form of recompense, there can be seen a slight twitch of her eyebrows of surprise at the idea that he spoke at all against the most. And when the Nosferatu mentions the ideas of moving to her territory, a slight twitch of Olympian annoyance can be seen. Besides that, she does her best to keep a straight.
Oh, as to be expected by a group of elders, you don't want to show too much. If you give too much away, you lose bargaining power. So, Valeronius, as you have the initiative here, do you approach anyone?
Is the description given by BSP an accurate one when it comes to Artemis? Does Valerianus see all of that?
Yes, you definitely see all that. You read it in her face. There's possibly an opening there, an opening for negotiation.
Indeed. Valerianus approaches Artemis. He kinda he's very certain of himself at this point, and he wants to be seen that he approaches Artemis, who seems to be one of the major players in all of Eternal Senate meetings.
Go ahead, guys. It's all you.
He approaches
that.
Artemis and he bows his head respectively. Noble Artemis. He bows his head in greeting, a bit too respectful, given the stature, but Valerianus has always been seen as a rubber stamp, so is it a play or not?
Artemis gives him a small nod, out of recognition, a much more reserved one on Valerion's own bow, and she motions for him to continue.
I've never got the chance to congratulate you on your choice of clients. For they've it seems that they've proved essential in this annoying skirmish with Carthage. I You'll have to enlighten me on some of the intricacies of how well do you pick your clients to follow your grand scheme of things.
Yeah, this is the most um, proper moment to have such discussions. But if you know Snow, I trust in the visions of them occasions.
Oh, I have no doubt of that. Tryphosa seems to be a. Huh, how would we survive without her wise guidance? Uh, it seems that Rome is inseparable from the visions of the wise, wouldn't you say?
Mm, not sure if that is the card to wisdom or just insight.
Wisdom and sight. Uh, yes, you'd have to gouge very well to be able to position yourself between the two, but we cannot help but to high but to hold our colleague Tryphosa in a high esteem. Now, can we?
Not if we wish to prosper, no.
I agree in full. So, what are your thoughts about this whole business, uh, noble Artemis? It seems that we're meeting for righteous cause. I fully understand that Redalia is speaking for client Themistocles. It is only a wise choice that we protect the business of our friends and our assistants. For without this kind of thing, we'd only be so little down as animals. However, however, Via Appia is such a big thing that's coming about, and no doubt Predolinia sees it as a big thing and already as he mentions a lot of various recompense. Should really the Eternal Senate be just jumping out at this occasion? It seems that they think that he thinks that he can just dictate demands on this noble body. And the noble body is here for adjudicating everything right, one thing at a time. So what is your take on this, noble Artemis? For this undertaking, such a grand thing that could change Rome and us by extension.
My take on this is if such a if such a study is beneficial as you seem to believe it is, then why not make more of just one? Surely you should be honored to have it in your own territory.
At this time, I'm probably very envious the Themistocles of Telecles' position. This this is just a, this is but a minor inconvenience, and he's set to benefit in the long run.
Some people do not see the long. Some people do not believe that they do not believe in it and prefer the immediate.
Some people, noble Artemis, we are the Canaanite. We are the Canaanites. We've been blessed by our ancestrals to see the long run, our our own lifespans, the eternal lifespans. Let us see the long runs. Yet he, and at this point, Valerianus kind of moves his gaze towards Redolinia, who he's like to be doing something else. And yet, why are we here for the short run? The long run is to see the changes that will befall Rome, and they are unavoidable. And what are we? We are Canaanites. We can see through all the patterns. We can see through all the long runs to reap out the rewards. Now I can see your wisdom, noble Artemis, for you're already playing your hand wisely in these difficult times.
Oh, and what do you see in my hand?
What I see in your hand is probably very impenetrable because you alone can see it. What I can see is that many of your actions betray that um, that you understand the dynamics between mortals and the kindred. You know how to make your clients interact with one another, and you understand that Carthage is not entirely out of our way just yet. You understand that while at this point, we are in the upper hand, but they ultimately needs to be dumbed down. Eventually, they will be, but some proper actions need to be taken. And one of those things is that showing to the rest of the Mediterranean Sea that Rome has no equal. The Via Appia is just one of many little cogs that will propel the motion of a great machine into works. And can we really be divided by petty squabbles among the little things? The Redolinia seems to be defending his point against the recompense, but Theocles is really a fortunate hand at this point.
You are so worried about uh, this road. You think you have a personal stake in it.
It is merely that I understand the actual weight of things. Isn't that something that our kind needs to be specifically attuned for if we want to make bargains that are worthful? What I'm implying is that Ridolinia's client is bargaining in addition to what he really gets.
And what would you suggest?
Well, it's quite simple. he already gets a lot of benefit. This temporary inconvenience that comes from that comes with damaging his property will just be a minor inconvenience. In the long run, people will start to flock, merchandise will start to go, and slave trade, olive trade, garum trade will start to flourish through Via Appia. Now you tell me, noble Artemis, wouldn't you like to have a hand in it? Just like Theocles will have right now.
Not if it meant damaging myself.
Ah,
The long run has little. The long term benefit has little value if you if it we can use in the short run enough to make you vulnerable to those that might take advantage of you.
what are what what are you implying, noble Artemis? Valerian seems to be a bit shocked, perhaps. This is a little price to pay, and I'm certain Theocles has numerous other holdings to see him through the hard times. It is not to mention that some of his kinfolk have been already too interested in the lands of others. You see, did you notice? He he already asked for the expanded feeding grounds. How is that going to how's that going to cost you or us?
There is plenty of mortals to go around.
Really. And Valeriano seems to be agitated for a little while, but he really he quickly composes himself, and he states, "There have been a lot of newcomers to our fine city, and it seems that our noble prince have been making some leeways to um, some of them have been made welcome to stay. It seems that even though Rome has grown rapidly throughout the years, we'll we are getting an influx of new blood, new contestants to work with. And even though the population has grown and the amount of people has grown, the competition still remains the same.
If this, in that there is a necessity, there is plenty there's plenty of slaves in there is there is nothing stopping a quick going to the market to get flesh blood. Or do you find yourself starving these nights, young noble Valerius?
Hmm.
Valerians?
At this point, Lomdale calls the 5 minutes up. So during those 5 minutes, Valeronius and Artemis have a very intense conversation. Besture sits by himself and he
I was going
waves
to do
off any
something.
visitors that come his way.
Yeah. So this is in the meantime, right?
Yep.
While they talk.
So during those 5 minutes. So that leaves Tryphosa and Cretheus. Tryphosa, what do you do during this period of talk?
At some point during the discussion, oh god, I just heard a whole bunch. Okay, sorry, I just heard all the Roll20 notifications come up at once somehow. Um,
Oof.
After a short while, Tryphosa will look to Cretheus and approach.
Let me go to-
Honourable Cretheus, good evening for this night.
Good evening, Tryphosa. It's good to
Right.
see you.
It is an interesting issue that's been brought before the Senate, it seems. What do you think of all this, I wonder?
Creases kind of strokes his chin, and also kind of side glances over at Valorinius and Artemis as they talk, before directing his gaze back to Tryphosa. It is certainly an interesting proposal. It seems that um, Telecles may have a. Best way I can explain this. May have um, a claim as such. For some reason, I can't think of the right word. But I honestly don't think there is the need for any kind of for them to accept any kind of bribes. However, um, I'm not opposed to the right of travel through Artemis's domain. What do you think?
Hmm. The strands and winds of fate are uncertain these nights, but I believe the safest option would be to simply pay them and let them be on their way. I suspect that they're asking for financial compensation is less about the money itself and more about, well, a statement really. A ref an affirmation that the Nosferatu still hold significant power and cannot be ignored in any way. In other words, it is a token gesture, one that will satisfy them, but ultimately cost us very little, cost the city very little. And of course, if they were to find themselves if theoretically they were to find themselves in harder times despite this, they would be seeking allies, of course. I'm sure there'd be someone, but yes, I'm sure there would be someone of sufficient means and intellect to provide them with favors and acquire their gratitude.
I would tend to agree there, but yes, well, there is no doubt that they do have and have had favourable. Well, they have had a rather large impact on how things are done, and have been rather helpful to us in that respect. But of course, you yourself have also been rather helpful to us. So it is going to be a rather difficult decision to negotiate. But yeah, I still feel that free travel that would be favourable to all parties.
But I imagine Senator Orphea may not see it that way.
Yes, you may be right, of course. But, still, I shall like to hear what everyone else has to say.
Indeed. And, well, just a sec, character. Need to shift something.
Question: is Prince in the same room with us?
No, he is not here tonight.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Who is the how to say it?
He did not send anybody either. This is not really important enough for him to care.
Right. But who is opening this talk and going to make the conclusion? Runner. Who
A
is going to run
Malkavian
this?
named Lomdiel.
Okay. So there's two Malkavians.
Lomdale is a voting member. Trifosa is not.
Yeah.
Okay. And Luke which was one?
Luke is playing Trifosa,
Okay. The voting one.
the
non-voting.
non-voting one.
No, voting one. Okay. So the voting one is the NPC.
Correct.
Okay. Question. Let's see. Is this guy older than me?
No, you are the oldest one in the room.
Okay. I would like to just look at his eyes, just twitching my head a little bit towards his seat and just looking at his eye. I would like to swiftly, how to say it, raise my left or right hand depending on where he is sitting.
The
And,
Malkavian?
Yeah.
Okay.
The NPC. So if he's sitting left side of me, then I will raise my left
Okay.
hand.
He approaches.
Arm, yeah. And I just want to put it on the seat's arm, Shit. Can you write his name so I can pronounce it correct? Lamdiel. Lamdiel. Would you like to tell me what you think of this matter which we are here to discuss for a brief time?
Well, we have but a moment before the sands expire. So let me just say that I believe we should present an offer to the princeps and allow him to rule yes or no.
It makes sense. The prince is the above all, and the shot color in the end. But also think about that he's not here, so it must mean something like, well, it is a matter not required his efforts put into. So consider that maybe by doing something like that we would, how to say it, disappoint and do a noble act. In the end, he made us the shot colors about this. See fit that his voice is not required.
In his eyes, I foresee him as saying that if he wanted to give compensation, he would have done so already. It is up to us to bring to him to say, we as the elders of this city believe that he deserves compensation. You should hear us.
So do you think having a negative impacting relationship with the clan Nosferatu in the mighty city Rome is a good strategy and something that will not impact the prince himself?
I believe that the prince will seek to strike a deal and gain advantage over the Nosferatu should we present him with our decision that he deserves to be repaid.
So, are you going to oppose a third option, or are you just going to vote for no deal?
I shall hold the vote for he deserves to be repaid or deserves to not be repaid, and then we shall vote on the options themselves afterwards. And that's when the sands run out. He stands up.
Just before we all move on, I would like to finish with Tryphosa making one parting statement to Cretheus.
Go right ahead.
Of course, having Artemis in one's debt would mean, extension, being able to call on her clients. And I believe some of her clients might be particularly useful for some of your sire's endeavors.
Yes.
Did you hear
Moved to-
about there's a new mystery cult in town? It seems that some of Artemis's clients have experience in such things.
Indeed. You may be right in that they may be helpful from what I have personally heard of them. Yeah, can't think of character. I can't think of much else to say in that respect.
All right, so Lomdale steps up and he gently taps a plate or something, makes a little bell. Says, we shall now, one at a time, step behind the curtain and cast our votes. Vote yes if you wish to proceed with deciding on compensation for Telecles. Vote no if you wish to decline any offer of compensation, and you may vote present if you wish to abstain. Artemis, please go first.
Artemis raises her hand in agreement to the compensation.
Okay.
That there should be a compensation.
All right. So she votes yes in private. There. Valoronius, you may cast the next vote.
Valerianus goes into the booth. He casts a vote for nay.
Crethius, you may cast the next vote.
Okay, so just out of character, what?
So you're given 3 stones, and you go behind a little pillar in private, and you place your stone in the box. And it's 1 stone is colored different for yes, 1 for no, and 1 for basically present or abstain.
So is that kind of like undecided?
Yeah, it's like I don't really want to say one way or the other, so I'm just gonna vote here.
Oh, okay. So obviously, a vote for yes would mean, voting like agreeing with Telecles' whole proposal.
Well, it opens up the gate to debate exactly what they deserve.
Okay. So I think, given all the research I've done, he's going to vote yes.
Okay. Bester, you may now cast your vote.
Bester is going to get up, and yeah, he's doing it as elegantly as a toreador of his age can do. He's just going to fix his clothes after sitting for a time and approach and vote yes.
Okay. Lambdale goes behind the pillar and also votes yes. He brings the box out, and in front of everyone, he counts the votes. There's 4 votes for yes and 1 vote for no. He calls forth everyone in reverse order in private to pick up their stone so that no one is forced to acknowledge what they actually voted.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "We shall now open the debate for exactly which avenue of compensation is appropriate. Redolinia has proposed several different possibilities. They prefer a portion of the money of the bribes that will be paid. That is one option. There is another option to assert to the prince that he deserves expanded feeding grounds. A third option is to be allowed to free travel through Artemis's territory on the Aventine Hill. And a fourth option is permission to raid the supplies of the builders for their own projects." Is there any who wish to speak in favor of the bribes? Well,
can you reiterate the first option again? Hello?
I am typing
He's
it
writing.
out.
He's right.
So the first option, Nosferatu get to skim a portion of the bribes paid for priority use of the road.
Like a percent.
Yeah. They get to take a little bit off the top.
Just the immediate solution thing.
Second option, they right to a new feeding ground to be decided by the prince. 3, no longer have to skirt around Artemis's territory.
Strategically speaking, what does
Or for
do we
Nosferatu get to raid building supplies.
do we know what will uh, free free passage to Artemis territory will connect them to?
Um, Mostly it's a issue of getting to and from the Circus Maximus more quickly.
Hmm. I see. Yeah, time is money.
So those are your four options.
Yeah, Beşler is just going to wait for the others to act first.
So Lomdale speaks up and he says, "Are there any who wish to speak on the first option, yes or no, that they be allowed to have a portion of the bribes paid?"
Out of character. Trifosa isn't a voting member, but is she allowed to speak in these
Yes,
instances?
she is allowed to speak.
Yes. Trifosa will raise her hand.
We recognize Trifosa.
Taking a stage, Trifosa will look to the gathered members of the Senate and give an appropriately respectful gesture. Honored members of the Senate, it is my belief that the simple matter of financial compensation would be the simplest and most elegant solution for all involved. We are in shifting times, and matters such as domain and feeding grounds can be unpredictable. If we were to grant them free domain passage, this might catapult the Nosferatu to unspeakable heights, or it might be worthless to them. Meanwhile, likewise with feeding grounds, and, well, even with supplies. However, though the finer points of economics do rise and fall with time, there will always be people coming through the bridge, and they will always be paying significant fees. Ergo, I think that the bribes, as they would be called, are the most stable and safe option for the city as a whole.
GM, a question: How how common is for dissent members to not exactly interject, but throw a little like background text to give a new context to the speaker's meaning?
Oh, they do it all the time. You're talking everything from snide little remarks, every dirty political trick you can think of.
Very well.
Pretty much
Does
anything and everything.
Valoronius have? He probably does. So he'd influence some of the members of his political siding to shout out when Trifosa mentions the bribes for priorities of the road. He'd influence his sidelings to shout out, "For how long? How many years? Does it last for eternity?"
Yeah, some of the peanut gallery observing the proceedings stand up and they begin shouting it out. How long? How long? Are we to be denied this in the future? Boo! They actually start drowning out Tryphosa, and they make Lomdale um, smack his hands together several times. There will be quiet. You will allow
Valerius is
Tryphosa to speak.
Valerius is very respectful of the Malkavian elder, and if he sees that his underlings are a bit too shouty, he's like waving his hand covertly mm, under the table, so to speak, to make them like quiet down,
Yes. So
guys.
they catch your signal. They quiet down a little bit before they are
That,
removed.
that I leave to the honored senators. I have I have given my views.
Artemis makes to speak her desire to speak against the idea of the bribe.
Um, we hereby recognize Artemis Orthia.
Artemis steps forward and says, the issue, the idea of the bribes, is that it harms the purpose of the road. After all, why does the humans use it to profit? And bribes are going to take away from their profit, going to disencourage them to make use of the road. No, I do not believe that such an option is good for it will create a situation where the very value of the road is going to be decreased. The very importance of the project is going to be decreased. And that's all that she has to say in regards to the idea of the bribes.
Thank you, Artemis Orthia. Are there any else who
Um,
wish to speak?
I think at this point, Beshte is just going to raise his hand.
The Honorable Bester is hereby recognized.
Yeah. I stand up, raise my left hand, uh, and my right hand on my belly of my cloth. honorable, uh, honorable members of the Senate. Do you guys see this?
I hear it.
Bol.
Paul. Yeah, there you go.
I I raise, yeah, I start speaking. Honorable members of the Senate. Firstly, I want to speak about what it means to have a good relationship with the inhabitants in the city, which is included of many clans, of many powerful elders. Despite we are also a very influential members, it is nevertheless to say Nosferatu has a deep root in nearly everything, for they are under the ground like roots. Now, the damage of this domain has to be compensated for. We do not want to have a bad relationship with the clan Nosferatu. They are influential and they are useful and they are worthwhile to have a happy relationship with. My suggestion is, in the long run, uh, some percent of this money will not harm anyone, but actually benefit everyone. For the money, by time, will come back to us. Maybe in the short run, we will lose a little bit, we will gain a little bit less money, which we actually have pretty enough of. Uh, the compensated money will come back when the Romans army marches through the roads easily for conquering much more land. When the traders cars and animals safely travel from point A to B. The money will not harm us, but it will make the Nosferatu happy, and it will compensate the damage happening to their domains by this beneficial to everyone road we are aiming to build. I think this is the best solution for making sure the least harm is happening and the most benefits are concluded. So here why I think that this should be the option we choose for this manner we come here to discuss about. And I sit back.
Thank you, Honorable Bester. Are there any else who wish to speak in this matter?
Valerius considers the thing at hand in his mind. Judging by the average amount of bribes that come in every day, is it possible to estimate how much of a loss? How long would it take to compensate for the loss of the mortgage to Theocles in bribes? So if he were to acknowledge the option 1, how long would it take to compensate financially for the damage?
Okay. Roll me 10 dice at difficulty 6. Just roll 10 dice. It's diff 6.
I think I derped.
10 d10 I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Oops.
there. No worries.
you're going into it.
Yeah, series of whoopses.
There you go.
5.
You are really confident that it's within 6 months he will recomp his losses. So anything after 6 months is pure profit.
6 months, so like judging the inflation, everything, if we give him 12 months, he really gets the benefit of, double benefit?
Yeah. He would easily profit after for a year.
Valerius would raise a hand, very politely, very conservative, very respectful to the Senate.
We recognize the Honorable Valerius.
He raises his hand. Esteemed senators, esteemed Senate members, you've all seen what I've proposed for, but do not think we are above the change. The change needs to happen. If the Senate decrees so that the compensation, and if the Senate decreed that compensation needs to be made, it's only lawful and just to do. Therefore, why is the option for raiding the supplies considered even for this? This in its very sense seems to defile the prince's decree to not interfere with the road. The supplies are needed for the road. Why would we need to raid them? They're needed for the road. However, in this circumstance, the requirement for compensation seems to dictate that the option for the bribes is the most logical one. For the damage is purely in financial loss, and it needs to be compensated as such. Esteemed senators and esteemed kindred and esteemed fellow brothers in blood and sisters in blood, we should make it a purely financial benefit. The bribes seem to be most logical options, but it needs to be clearly stated for how long. The Via Appia is made to be an eternal investment. The Rome is eternal, and Via Appia is going to be eternal. This grand project of ours, this magnificent idea that we're through, and we're backing with our on all selves.
Before we
This
proceed,
needs to- This needs to be considered in such a thought that everything that we decide that we want to proceed through is going to be in an eternal means. It's going to stay forever. This Via Appia is going to stay forever. The bribes to our noble Redelia, I probably butchered that, should be enough to compensate for the loss of, Theocles' loss. I say the bribes should take no longer than 8 months of takings. It seems like a reasonable thing. The usage of the road is going to be great, and as the Rome is going to be great, the road is going to be great, and the benefits are going to be great. This seems like an ample compensation for all the losses our dear Nosferatu friends are going to endure. With this, he's going to bow respectively for the voice being given, and he's going to recede into his seating booth.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Valoronius. We shall call again a 5-minute discussion period, and in order to allow for individual consultation. And he flips over the 5-minute hourglass, and Redolinia approaches Crethius. Honorable Crethius, so good to see you.
Protheus bows his head towards Redolinia. Redolinia, likewise. What can I do for you?
Please, come to a quiet corner with me. And he walks you off to a little spot where, even with heightened senses, it'd be really hard to hear what you guys are saying.
There's dimly lit candles, the smell of roses.
Crudius follows Redolinia over to the corner. What would you like to talk to me about?
Would like to offer you a bargain.
What kind of a bargain? We
know your sire seeks to establish himself in the legions, to have him praised as a god.
Indeed. He is, for all intents and purposes, a god.
We do not dispute that. Support our claim for 2 years, and we shall give half of the money from the first year to you for those purposes.
Cree kinds of thinks about this for a moment, appears thoughtful. Back at Redalonia. I will admit that is very what's the word? So my brain's not working at the moment. It is indeed an interesting proposal. I will need to think on this, and I can promise to you that it will be considered. I will certainly consider it as I form my final decision.
Thank you. He hobbles away. He can't even quite walk straight.
Out of character. Well, I guess. Never mind. Trifosa is going to study Landale's reactions throughout the various speeches. What do his thoughts seem to be?
Landale doesn't. He appears to be very neutral. To him, this is a non-issue. He thinks he'd rather kick it up to the prince and let the prince handle it.
Let's see. I think for this round of the quiet debate, Trifosa is going to stay in the background and see what happens. If someone approaches her, then so be it.
All right. Bester, do you approach anybody?
I would like to not approach, but I would like to do the same thing I did to I have to Cretius. If she is like not speaking with anybody.
He's only talks with Redalinia for a couple of minutes, for a minute or two.
When she comes back, I would like to look at her eyes and, as I did before, raise one of my arm and just put it on the chair's arm or something, like very showing it pretty openly, kind of trying to give a message.
The obvious invitation, come talk to me.
Yeah. To approach. All right. Cretius, obviously, when he looks in that direction and notices, will approach. Be Bester.
Cretius. Remind me, how would you think that I want to approach to this manner with a solution? I spoke of just a few minutes ago. What do you think about it? What is your opinion? I would like to hear. What do you think about my own opinion?
Hmm. Well, Beshta, you do make some good points, and on part of that, I would tend to agree. I will admit, I still haven't yet made a, I'm not 100% on my decision as of yet. I'm still deliberating, if I might be totally honest.
Right.
However,
But speak, please speak.
however, one thing I have certainly decided on is I do agree with free travel through Artemis's land. I feel that is a fair, at the very least, a fair recompense for the what has happened to Telecles as a result of the construction of this Via Appia.
Well,
But as far with relation to the bribes, I am still yet unsure as to whether that is actually necessary. But again, I am still deliberating on that.
let me explain then. I actually think alike to your primary solution to this problem. I think the free passage would be very little thing to quote a sacrifice, and it would really not harm anyone. But I do want you to see that what stays here does not stay only here. And the answers we make tonight might affect the relationship we have with the other attendants in this time of speech. So I think while free passage through the Artemis's domain is a beneficial one for the greater kindreds of Rome, it might also put some, how to say it, distance between you and Artemis, and it is quite understandably easy to expect that Artemis is a powerful and influential kindred, with which I believe would benefit your sire, and by through benefiting your sire, it will benefit you. So maybe you should consider from another perspective that the bribes, while being a little bit more uh, affecting everybody than the second option, it also not affects your relationship with the other kindreds in this room. And this might be, for you and your sire, might be much more important than losing a little bit of money. So I suggest you to consider that maybe not going for the second option, your primary option, would be a little better thing to do, for it might affect your relationship with Artemis. And as an elder, as a someone older than you, I just want to say I just want to say that Artemis is a really good associate to have.
Hmm.
And I do want to say she will remember whatever we say, whatever we do, and whatever we support in this specific discussion and the decision we shall make.
Hmm. You do make some good points there. I'm gonna keep referring back to the names. Beshta. I do also look at it this way. The as Redelinia has mentioned, the Telecles, the effect that the construction has had on Telecles is a matter of what it says here, damage of his possessions, i.e., the loss of some of his domain. I guess I'm looking at it in a I'm looking at it in a more logical standpoint. I just kind of feel that, you know, an equal kind of recompense would be to, as you know, a fair recompense for loss of domain would be to grant them more movement through Artemis's territory. So, you know, that's the way I look at it.
As I expect you, to know, the domain is much more than free passage. It provides an influence and food, a resource of many kinds to individuals who possess control over it. A mere mere passage, while a little bit beneficial, it would not truly help the clan Nosferatu, for while they can pass through easily and be faster, they still don't have access to foods they lost, the resources they have lost, while the economical benefits of having a percent of the bribes, it would mean they have the money to buy things in a manner so that they get back what they have lost, be it again food or resources, which with the monies they can probably buy the resources that can build projects they have, and the money again will provide them, as I said before, if you can remember, it would provide food to them, which they lose when the domain is getting. So logically speaking, while free passage is good, I think the economical benefits are much more diverse for their benefits. For they can do much more things with money than by a merely passage.
At this time, the hourglass is flipped and Lomdale calls for it. In the meantime, while they were talking, does Artemis do anything?
Yes, Artemis is going to approach the Nosferatu.
Okay. Artemis, thank you for coming.
She gives him a respectful nod. I'm curious whether you have so much desire to have passage on my territory.
He whispers in your ear, You taught me. It's always good to have one that's easy to reject.
She smiles. It pleases me and does me honor to see that one of my lessons had been, you have taken to heart like such with such wise wisdom. If I may say, while I do agree that it needs to be compensated, you need to be compensated for this. I question uh, the desire for bribes for the reasons that I have already put forward in front of the voters present. If I are to if I are to make a suggestion, the idea the idea of free hunting grounds and the ability to have access to the building materials of the road will be something that I believe the people and I would find much easier to accept. It should, if I may if I may share my wisdom with you again, the focus on these options, on these requests for the compensation.
Yes, lady. We like all three options. They are all suitable to pay us back for the trouble. There is none we prefer over the other. They are all equally good for us.
She nods, eager for happy for the opportunity to have talked this and clear up the fact that at least from what he has said, the idea of his attention to her territory is merely a distraction. And she steps back to return to her post, to her position.
Okay, so lastly, you have Valoronius, who has not had a chance to yet interact. Was Valoronius going to do anything during this 5 minute break?
Uh, so the voting members are 5, right?
Right. So not every member of the Senate has shown up tonight. Just these members. Bester and Crethius take up quite a bit of time. Tryphosa is about the only one that's really free for an extended conversation. And Londiel as well, the Malkavian.
Please remind me. Tryphosa's stance towards in this voting was for the bribe,
Fine.
right?
Bribes, yeah.
And the Malkavian in charge of these proceedings.
So far,
was
he has
for-
not shown a preference.
Okay, so Valoronius is going to approach him. How old is the Malkavian?
He hasn't really expressed that. He's actually one of the more
How old?
stable members. Not really prone to visions and wild fantasies and things like that. So that's why he was considered acceptable to be the face of the clan in these meetings.
Valoronius is going to approach him regardless, saying that the other members are either too busy or playing along with with what Valoronius would see. Takes a bow, respecting the man's position in these proceedings. I don't know if there's a gesture that would reflect this properly.
Not really. Yeah, people take turns, so
It's a mess. These noble senates, this noble senate, we've been called to greater things than squabble about the handful of mortgages. It seems not long ago we've been voting about the proceedings of war, and now we're diluted to things like houses, finances. I bet Artus and they're debating about the matter of compensation in Sesterci. Isn't this sad? We're higher than that. What's the Sesterci mean to a Canaanite? But no matter. I think it's only fair that if he gets a compensation, which by the decree of the Senate he's entitled to, it should be a lawful one that is cognified between a certain point of time and another certain point of time. Because eventually, if he gets a
you just blanked out on me. I think your mic just went out.
Maybe you should write. He might be not hearing.
So I think your headset might be dying. Bobble. Oof. Oh, no.
We are getting killed.
The static.
Feedback. Lots of feedback.
This is the doing of Vivian.
I'm gonna mute it. Sorry.
Okay. I guess I will mute.
I just got it turned down low so I can hear him when he comes back in.
Ooh, this is going fun. I like this. I like this thing.
It's amazing how intense it can be for just a simple issue.
I know, right? Don't worry, it's happened to me too, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I like so far playing Besh, not because like he's a powerful kindred, but
is this any better?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
I'm going
What?
to fix it the next session. This really blows. It's been
There we
worth the fire. Anyway, what was the last thing I was prattling about?
That it seems pathetic that we're reduced to talking about payment for damaged territory for a road. When just a few years ago we were making life or death decisions in a war.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Honorable Valoronius, as you are well aware, we have no authority to parcel out the domain of the princeps. We merely suggest and advise. So while there is much dealing behind in quiet corners and shadowed areas, in the end, no matter what suggestion we make to the princeps, he could very well throw it in the gutter. I don't think he will, but I do not feel too involved in this, as I believe any suggestion we make to the prince should and will be discussed behind closed doors with more elders to put a fine stamp to the decree.
This is a sad vision you paint for us, because it nearly sounds like we're not needed.
No, we are needed. We keep the prince in line. With a unanimous vote, we can override him. There is no other city like it.
However, wouldn't it? However, if we show leniency, even in the most trivial manners, does it? Wouldn't it seem like the Eternal Senate is wanes in its power, in its influence into the prince? While I respect completely the prince's law of making the final decision, and make no doubt, I respect the decision about the Via Appia, but and Prince Camilla is completely busy with matters of great state, and we sometimes reluctantly need to be forced to make.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's gone again.
Well, yep.
So there are humans or other kindreds?
Other kindred and ghouls.
They are listening and watching.
Yes.
Yeah. Are they just like young kindreds, or are they the rest of the Senate?
You recognize pretty much all of them. There's a pretty large number. Well, I won't say a large number, but you pretty much recognize all of them as having at least been in the city since the Second Punic War.
Do I see any Nosferatu?
Oh yeah.
Is Sybil there and the rest of the country?
Sybil probably not. You do recognize a certain distinctive top hat.
Pop hat.
Uh-huh. It looks like a giant walking cockroach wearing a hat.
Hey, what?
Oh, I remember him.
Hang on,
Is this the guy who staked Al?
Actually, I think he was before your time.
Yes.
Yeah, before both of you, in fact. Oh God.
Hang
I
on,
don't
I'm
know.
going through the character pictures here.
Okay.
I don't know this guy, so. Papa Roach. Yeah, I saw the shit, but I don't deal it.
Wow. That picture
Interesting.
looks cool, actually.
So does Sybil know this?
Oh yeah, Sybil knows that guy, for sure.
Can you tell me how Sybil knows this guy? Like, which kind of picture does she know this guy?
Oh, that's the same picture. It's just a close up.
No, I mean like by picture I meant his reputation in Nosferatu or stuff like that.
He has a reputation of being very careful. He has his reputation is one of careful moves, bravery, and he has actually earned a number of favors from Artemis.
Is he the eldest?
No, he's not the eldest.
Eldest Nosferatu, I mean.
No, he's not.
Okay. Because I remember from the Clan book, like, there is this eldest, most respected Nosferatu, you know, living in the under, kind of lecturing the lesser or younger ones.
No, he
I
is
just
definitely
wondered.
not. He is much like Sybil. He's more of an underling than anything. He's earned a lot of respect from a number of the lower ranked kindred, just because he's not overbearing about anything. He's just chill. He's willing to help you. He's always happy. Even though he looks like a walking cockroach, he's just everything about him. He's just a cool dude. He just, hey, whatever, man. I don't care.
I understand. Yeah, that sounds a little bit like.
Yeah, I'm still hearing the static come through, Vorpal.
So. I don't want to come out like disrespectful, but are we going to, like, do you want us to continue? Wait here?
Wambeo had something to say, and then I was gonna. I don't know if. There.
Perhaps we could take a short break or something.
You know what? Let's do that. Let's take a 15-minute break. We'll come back in 15.
See if everything sorted itself out.
Yep, let's see that.
Yeah.
All right.
That'll give me time to make coffee.
Okay, and we're back. All right. So, Lomdale's listening to you, and he says, "You are correct. The Princeps is very busy with stuff." And he looks around at the crowd and people who might be listening. However, he has always had the good sense to take our input under advisement, and he usually listens to us. So, for now, I have no reservations about sending this issue to him with our recommendations.
And what would be your recommendation for the matter?
My recommendation? That they be authorized I do not believe they should be allowed to skim off the bribes. I am much more in favor of a revised feeding ground. After all, fires happen. Things burn to the ground. People are displaced all the time. Who's to say the feeding ground of today is desirable tomorrow?
I see the wisdom in it. But whose feeding ground is going to take the hit?
Oh, there are many unclaimed areas here in this vast and growing city. Nobody needs to take the hit. It's just simply they are granted one that is unclaimed, and if there is a Canite who thinks to claim it for themselves, well, they may have a struggle on their hands.
Is there do you have a certainty that this feeding ground that is going to be picked is not one of your own?
Oh, I am sure the Princeps would not award the territory of another to the Nosferatu. After all, that only is passing the problem to another Canite. Why shuffle domains when you can simply take a undesirable piece of ground and give it to them?
When I listen to you, Valornius speaks. He kind of squints his face in a bit over dramatic pose. It all makes sense. It makes very clear sense in a way that I cannot help but to think, why are we even debating this case? Let us just go for option 4 and go back to our things. But what worries me the most, sorry, this is option number 2. But what worries me the most is the the shifting the shifting nature of things that happens to be currently in Rome. Our great Rome is on the verge of transition from one state to another, a transformation, if you will. We've been an upstart empire in before. We're now on the road to become a greater empire. Like you said, everything can shift, even the feeding grounds. The feeding grounds that may be irrelevant right now may become ever crucial tomorrow. Surely a, a, a monetary compensation is seen as a lesser thing of the two, is it not?
Yes, but once you have cracked open the door, how do you stop them from barging in?
You don't. You adapt, but you cannot adapt unless you have a set time restriction to the deal.
So you give them a set time restriction, and then what? The time expires and they simply walk away? I don't think so.
Hmm.
I think you will find it to be quite the struggle to
No, it
to
doesn't.
burn out their influence once they are allowed to establish it.
But then we're not burdened by the legal constellations, are we?
How hard is it to get rid of
Consider
every rat in a block?
consider yourself this. Do you really trust the Nosferatu in everything?
I th-
I'm
I trust no one and nothing, but I would rather take a gamble. I would rather take a gamble that the property that they are given for feeding grounds will not become the center than to give up a known and know that once they are allowed to establish a center of power there, I know they will never give it up. Even if they're told to give it up, do you think they'll really give it up?
Our kind, our nature, is unpredictable, and so forth. We are forced to settle for the kind of deals that gives at least the illusions or the illusion that we're placed in check. The word, the promise, is everything.
Yes, they give up their
But
official claim, but the unofficial is just as powerful.
it does, it gives an extra edge. They cannot call upon the fact that that it's still theirs because it can't. Eventually, of
No,
course they will
they,
struggle.
they
Of
do not
course they
need
will reject.
they do not
But
need
eventually,
to do it officially. But if everyone else's attempts to establish domain is rebuffed, their agents killed, never to be seen again, their bones used in the creation of the next Appian way, how long before they give up and say, you know what, it's not worth the trouble. The Nosferatu can have it.
of course you're right. But why feeding grounds? Why not just give them financial compensation? Financial compensation is nothing compared to the feeding ground.
And if the prince so ordered it, would you be willing to part with your fortune?
Fortune is a device. Fortune can be raised from a different place. The feeding grounds, close to one's own domain. Tell me, would you be likely to travel half the Mediterranean Sea to feed? Because I could picture myself going half a Mediterranean Sea to collect my finances, but I would not picture myself going to suck my fangs into something that is rightfully mine.
As I said, it is far easier to cleanse a feeding ground than it is to burn out an influence. And I would rather take the gamble than wager on anyone's ability to take domain over the Appian Way once the Nosferatu have been given it. And that's when the hourglass runs out, the 5 minutes are up. Lomdale returns to his post. So, we shall now have a vote. We shall vote yes if you wish to authorize the Nosferatu the ability to, or if you wish to authorize the Nosferatu to have the financial payback of bribes, or no if you wish to explore another solution. We shall start with Artemis Orthea.
I vote that there should not be the bribe.
Thank you, Artemis. The Honorable Valoronius may now cast his vote.
Valerius comes in. into the booth and he casts the song for I. Let there be bribes.
The Honorable Crethius may now cast his vote.
Okay. Now, out of character, I hope this isn't going to be too long-winded, but I've had a bit of a thought about how I'm going to cast this vote. So, now, I still believe that allowing free travel through Artemis's territory is the best course of action. In addition, after discussion with some of you, I also think offering expanded feeding grounds would also be fair recompense for loss of domain. I'm sure the Princep is wise enough to decide what and where that should be. Now, whilst I believe that giving Telecles part of the road tolls as a bribe isn't necessary, I would not be completely opposed to the idea. As for allowing them to raid the supplies of the builders, I am definitely opposed to that.
So what's your vote?
Can we?
Yes.
Fine.
So what do you vote? Bribes or no? Or just abstain?
So ultimately, it would be a yes, I guess.
Okay. The Honorable Bester, you may cast your vote.
I make my vote as yes. Yes for the bribes.
And then Lomdale goes behind and casts his vote, and his vote is a no. Yeah, he brings the box out. He counts the votes at a vote of 3-2, with the Nosferatu not voting. The motion carries. We shall hereby spend the next hour drafting a proposal to the Princeps, asking him to authorize the Nosferatu to accept a portion of the bribes from the Appian Way. Thank you, everyone, for your participation tonight, and may the gods bless all of us with continued wisdom and justice. And that is the end of the Eternal Senate session.
The eternal session.
Yeah.
It goes on until the end of the universe.
Right.
This is the song that doesn't end. All right. We can move forward and pick up our characters, or we can end it for tonight. What would you guys like to do?
I have time to continue with our own characters.
Yeah, same.
I'm good as well.
I'm fine either way.
I just need
Same.
I just need that 1 minute break.
Okay. If you take a break, go ahead and do so.
I can go to 12, so.
We'll go for about another hour, and then
Yeah.
then we'll call it.
Yeah. A hour. So that's something I can problem.
Oh, excuse me.
Now that I tasted, I just can't wait the time when we do this for our own characters rather than NPCs. And actually doing it for greater matters.
Next time we do one of those, I need to find the artwork from the HBO series Rome, where they're actually in the Eternal Senate. You know, find one of those stills and have that be our background. I should have thought of that.
There might even be an art made by it, like not necessarily from the Rome series, but I don't know, something they draw.
Damn, I just realised I didn't do a lot to promote Mithras, but then, you know. Never mind.
It also feels bit.
Yeah, see, I was trying to read up on, a little bit on Mithraism, but yeah, I didn't get very far.
Mithraism is essentially worship as Mithras as a sun god, ironically.
Yeah.
It came very close to being the official religion of Constantine instead of Christianity.
Yeah.
I mean,
say, but
I
ultimately
believe
didn't succeed.
I believe the guy's cult even continued after just died. It is a very strong cult.
Oh yeah, it took a long time. It took a couple hundred years to be replaced fully.
Yeah, the
And
guy.
in the World of Darkness setting, it goes on even. It still goes on even to the modern day.
It actually, even in real life, there's still a few practitioners.
Wow,
Nothing
really?
like that.
Huh?
I remember reading somewhere that one of the factions of mage, one of the sub factions of the celestial chorus of mages, take practices Mithraism, which I wonder how they'd feel if they learned about the source of that.
It is pretty interesting. Some NPCs that are powerful in the Vampire the Masquerade, and there are some NPCs that are just immensely powerful. Like, yeah, this is the plot army kind of powerful. Like one of the Trust. Other one is Constantinople, Beşler Mikael, and another one is Baba Yaga, which the Nosferatu guy, the guy literally made the whole Russia just go.
Yeah, Baba Yaga is probably the single most powerful fourth gen.
I mean, yeah, that's some. Yeah, this is the Jan power, not something any player or storyteller can imagine. It's like we made it so, and that's it.
Yeah, Baba Yaga and what's his name? Urshulgi.
Yeah,
Oh, this guy.
The Urshulgi was the Assamite, right?
Yeah.
The Assamite who created the I don't know, the guy did some stuff. Yeah, I believe
he is the one who shredded the Tremere curse.
Tremere.
Yeah, Ushugi. No, yeah, that guy, and he's also white. Yeah, he's also the white Assamite actually, not one of those who is.
No, that you're thinking of a different guy.
Weakness.
But okay, so it is about 186 BC. Skip forward a few more years. You guys have been hard at work building your cult, reestablishing yourselves as powers. Nicodemus, you've been expanding the reach of the Collegium Medicus. Albina, your sire has been forcing you to try to regain your place in the cult of the wolf in Rome, the Lycurgus. Your sire has been generally unhelpful and has only told you that you are experienced enough to do the job without somebody holding your hand. So, Hatshepsut, you awaken one evening, and one of your loyal cult followers is waiting for you. He bows down to you, actually goes to his knees, and he says, "My priestess, my wife enters labor. She lies in our apartment. Please come and say your blessings over her. Bring us the love and attention of the goddess to protect us."
But of course. Um, please lead the way.
He throws on his traveling tunic and heads out into the streets. uh, threads his way through the hustle and bustle of the crowd at night. It's springtime, very early summer, so of course the crowds are out escaping the summer heat. Leads you to an apartment complex that's similar to the many hundreds of others, and takes you upstairs to a crowded area. A woman is heavily pregnant on the floor. Her legs are spread, getting ready to give birth. Sweat's pouring off her face. There's a midwife there. Her family members are around her. Midwife's trying to guide her through the labor.
Mm-hmm. As requested, Hat will go over and speak the appropriate blessings. She will also, yeah, and well, yeah, basically just that. She'll be helping with the blessings and trying to give a degree of, some help with the soothing process.
Okay. In the meantime, Sybil, you've started hearing a couple of rumors floating around. 2 or 3 times a month, there has been rumors that there is a group of crazed women running through the streets at night and almost in a frenzy. And the men have very swiftly learned to get out of their way when they come dancing through the streets.
Crazy woman.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's never just one or two, it's always a group.
Did does those rumors tell a location, a street name?
No.
Where do I know where did I heard those rumors from?
Just
like
around.
Interesting. I guess I will gonna talk this manner with the country, just gonna share it with, assuming they are not aware of it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna gather them somewhere, I don't know, or I guess shared background location.
All right. Everybody is there except for Hatshepsut.
Okay. Well, I don't know what Hatshepsut is doing. Maybe that's not the correct.
Friend, I don't know where the chipset is, but I believe she has some important things to take care of. So I think I will start the reason why we are getting here without waiting her. I've been hearing some stuff happening at night. Some stuff that actually somewhat relates to our occult. And the rumors I hear is about a bunch of crazy women as a group going frenzying while running down the street, and the other half of the rumor says the men who come up to this group just flees from their pet. So I thought it will be something to share with you, for as you know, we are about rebirth and fidelity and stuff like that.
What do they know about this?
Who?
Abner. What do the Abner know about it?
I'd like you to roll intelligence plus theology plus your contacts rating.
shit, I don't have context right. I'm a strange kind of Nosferatu.
I imagine they must be mermaids.
Yeah, with one success, it sounds like this isn't Roman. With one success, you can tell this is not a Roman custom. This is especially happening at night, not during the day. So this has to be some sort of Greek thing.
Is that a Greek thing? Nicodemus considers.
Ah, Nicodemus, you may also roll intelligence plus theology plus contacts.
Ooh.
So many options. Let me check this out.
Okay.
Damn, I don't know.
Intelligence plus theology plus. Nicodemus doesn't have any points of theology, so it means he cannot make this roll.
No, it's a diff 7. You're Greek. You've heard of this.
Question: can I or my group can do roll too?
Yes, you can also go and talk to your retainers and have them make the roll as well.
That's
Nicodemus with 2 successes. This sounds like the rites of Bacchus, Dionysus, but it sounds like the bad version of this. Sybil, oh shit! I assume that's your retainer rolling that.
That's me. I have
That's
4
you?
intelligence and 2 theology.
Okay. So as you guys are talking about it, Sybil's like, "Oh, wait a minute. The Etruscan version of Bacchus had his rites at night. The Greek usually does it during the day." With 6 successes, Sybil, you swear you've heard of a priestess named Pacula Ania. And I'm going to type that out for you. Who has, over the last couple of years, been very busy spreading these rites, this particular version of these rites, the rites of the Bacchanal rites.
Oh, you're already okay. Yeah, you write it for the Bacchanal rites. This is the drunk god.
Yes.
Okay, so I of course like with a moment of enlightenment, I embrace this information and I share it with the coterie members and I follow up with. So I think the best if we want to matter, if we want to investigate, I think the best step will be contacting with this Paculia Ania to see whatever we can get out of her.
What do we know of her? Is that like an opposing cult to our devices?
So there are many dozens of these little mystery cults across Rome. There's a large number of them. Hers happens just gain popularity very quickly. As for her herself, she is from the region of Campania. That is a region near Naples. Nobody's really sure where her group meets. No, it's held under very tight secrecy, or even who all is within the group. So they have done a very good job, despite its popularity, of keeping certain secrets under wraps.
Not even the
It seems we should convert her to our cause.
Perhaps if we can find one of the girls that's part of it, she might be able to share more about information. That's a way to get to Annie.
if
Indeed.
if we really want to do this, if shit, I forget the voice. If we want to do this, my dear friends, I suggest that I take this question to my class and see whatever information they got. Maybe they might find her at least something, a way to locate her much faster than. But then again, I can do myself with your helps too.
I'm sorry. What was the question again, Sybil?
If you want to, I can take the help of other Nosferatu to find the Pacula Ania, where they are met with the other members of the cult.
Look, I understand you're very tight knit with your Nosferatu friends, but do you not? Do you sometimes get the feeling that in this insane world where we're Canaanites and we are generally the creatures as we are, should take things into our own hands?
I believe I believe in strength in numbers. And I believe in my clanmate for without seeing it with your own eyes, others might not trust. But I saw it several times in my lifespan that they are to be trusted if the one is also one of them.
Do you really believe they are?
Well, think about this. Think about this. You are from a clan which does not live together generally. The Ventru is a clan of those who wish to have power, so the competition is always on. The other clans also have something that separates them from each other. But despite all of them, what's common in my clan is the curse we bear. And it is the curse of looking like what we are. So things that separates other clans is something
Fine.
actually connecting to each other. So yes, I do them, for I am connected to them and they are connected to me.
Mm, It's a very, this is a very fair point. I had to remember this when next time I'm dealing with your kind, but so you wish to query about her prey with your clan members, right?
Yes, I think they have nothing to gain over ditching us. This is a business for them. A reputation is important for a business. Even I know that.
Well, we should first look what we've got before calling into any favors.
Of course, I can fly over the city and try to locate any group of women who just run through the streets. Sometimes, I believe, with a little luck, I can locate them.
Hmm. Hold on. Does it seem that this particular happenstance, this particular ritual, does it take in specific times of year? Is it related to the moon, or perhaps it is related to the sun?
It does not seem to be related to times of the year. It's happening on a regular basis.
If we can go to meet one the girls in one of these places where it happens, we might be able to get what we need.
Is none of those things happening anytime soon, judging by how it happened last times? Or differently, is it possible to, outside the peculiar area, is it possible to identify one of those women?
That's going to take some work.
So, if we are going to, out of character speaking right now, if we are going to do it with our own hands first, I think should Sibyl start just like possessing a owl or something and fly over the city, or do you guys walk somewhere or do something?
Okay, while you guys are discussing that, Hatshepsut, you are attending the miracle of life.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's crowded around her. You are frantically praying. Basically, they kick the guys out of the area. Get out of here. The midwife seems to be professional, knows what she's doing. There's no doctor here, though. These people really doesn't seem like they can afford a doctor. They're not rich.
Stupid people.
At some point, no, it's probably. Well, actually, how long would this probably take for it to all be over? Out of character, I'm not actually that familiar with the birthing process.
She's pretty far along. Looks like she's gonna pop pretty soon, from what the midwife says.
Alright, so definitely no time to bring Nicodemus in.
If the midwife had to guess, she's pretty experienced. She'd say an hour. She got maybe an hour. You might be able to make it if you hurry.
But the thing is, I don't know where Nicodemus is right now.
Well, let's just say you were all at your group spot, and that makes it easy.
Okay.
Does Nicodemus have celerity?
Yeah, I'm going to ask for them to try and stay strong and go see if I can find Nicodemus.
Okay. You run up to the group meeting area, and you enter, and there everyone is sitting in a circle discussing the issue at hand, the Bacchanalias. And you burst into the room.
Nicodemus, your services are required somewhere.
Services of mine. What kind of?
Medical attention.
Who did I save? Show me the way.
Hat will lead him back to the house.
Okay, you guys sprint over there. You open the door. You get in. People have started to crowd in again, so you got to kind of grab people, shove them. Get out of my way! Get out of the way! Nicodemus, you see immediately, the woman's in labor, and the midwife is there. Unfortunately, this is typical Roman times. There's no sterile rags, no hot water. There's barely a little tiny lamp for light. So the midwife is going as much on feel as she is on sight. So everybody's kind of crowded around. It's hot in there. It's hot in the room.
Nicodemus, immediately springs into action. Perhaps some of his time as mortal is propelling him to do so, or perhaps some of his own wanting to feel to be a human again is going in. He barges in and he points at random guy and you bring out some blankets, and he points to the other. Find something to wave the air upon her, and you bring some water. Doesn't matter how cold or warm it is. And he points at another. You bring some cushions, whatever it is. He turns to the midwife. What have you seen so far? And he starts proceeding on his own and try to arranging
the midwife shoves over, makes some room. Now, Nicodemus, when it comes to doctor mode, you could be a very commanding man. So you burst in, you start issuing instructions. Everyone immediately hops to do as you command. Within moments, a clay bowl of water is placed beside you. Somebody is there with some rolled up cushions and pillows, mats. Another person has some leaves and is using them to fan the air over the woman. The midwife shoves over and takes your hand and guides you to her vagina. You can feel that she is dilated and the baby's starting to crown. She's, Doctor, I can feel it. And you feel the head pulse out. The baby's coming! And midwife does her job. The woman, push! The woman's crying out in pain. Ah! But it's life-giving pain. This is refreshing to the two of you. The last time you heard something like this, it was fear and agony. This is life. The water breaks, and there's the flood of fluid that comes out, and she's right there, and she catches the baby and pulls the baby out. Nicodemus, you were right there to clip the umbilical cord and start taking care of that. And she holds the baby up. It's the boy! You've delivered a healthy baby boy. Hatshepsut, I would like a self-control roll of difficulty 9 from you.
Oh.
I hope. Definitely.
Give me the baby. Give me.
Oh, this count. Wait, is this? Well, first question: is this a frenzy check?
No, this is not a frenzy check.
So apply, will it? I don't think so. So
No successes, but not
Okay.
a botch, thankfully.
She brings the baby out, and even as they're trying to clean it, and Nicodemus is tying out the umbilical cord and getting that taken care of, you reach down and you take the baby, and you hold it up, and you look down at this squalling, dirty, bloody, filthy bundle, and you actually start few little tears of blood start to drip from your eyes as you are gazing at what is quite frankly a beautiful and touching moment, the miracle of life in your hands.
Does Nicodemus see this? These
As you are
tears
kneeling
of
on the
blood?
ground and you look up with your hands still occupied, and you look up and you see Hatshepsut looking honestly quite fondly at this baby and crying just a little bit. And then the people in the area see you do this, and they see the tears of blood, and a couple of them kneel down and actually thank you for blessing the baby in this manner.
It is my pleasure to help those who follow me.
The midwife takes the baby, finishes cleaning it up, and then places it on the floor and clears everyone out for the father to step forward and cast his judgment in the traditional Roman manner. And he does pick the baby up and declares the baby's name. And by picking it up signifies his acceptance of the child into the life. Still holding his child, he starts thanking you, crying. Brings the baby down to the mom so the baby can start, suckling at the mother's breasts. Getting its first meal in this world. Everyone's clapping, cheering, congratulating them. It's just general, it's a really good feeling and a really good spot to be in right there. Even with the fluids and the smell and the stink of childbirth surrounding you, it's a good deal. It's a good time.
Nicodemus feels right at home with all these fluids, this stench, this foul things that come from a natural child's birth. He takes it in, and it makes him reminiscent about how artificial and foreign his current being is compared to these people. He makes his best to instruct the man and the woman on how best to take care for a newborn child, for this fragile little thing that has no will of its own just yet, is likely to die in this harsh world. In this instant of a moment, he gazes up of the child, curious if perhaps the stars have a greater meaning for him and the child to be in the coming ages.
You you bask after all the pain and the suffering, and then coming back to Rome and establishing your own cult. This is the first child to be born to your members. This is a birth that will be special to you for the next 100 years, maybe more. You'll always remember this as one of the good times.
The name, Nicodemus whispers, and he looks up to the man. The baby needs to have a name. What will it have?
Marcus Paulinus. I shall call him Marcus
What
Paulinus.
date it is? What date is it?
He gives you the date. It's springtime, April-ish. April or May.
Is
186
there
BC.
anything special about the child?
No, it's just a child.
Perhaps something that would relate to. Is it small or big? Nicodemus would strangely be out of his way to suggest a proper diet in the years to come based on the infant's mass, and he does it very surprisingly to himself, as if perhaps the child's significance in the years to come was probably greater, or perhaps it is his own longing for the years of mortality that seemed so innocent to the backstabbing years of his undying presence.
The party starts breaking up. It's late at night for them, and he doesn't have much to give you, but he does press a few coins in your hand and thanks you for coming. He kisses the hem of the toga of Hatshepsut.
Hat, accepts it with, the sort of grace and respect that she's used to giving by the.
So while you guys are celebrating and dealing with the happy family, Sybil and Albina still have a few more, and Labiena still have a few more details to discuss about this apparently what is a pretty secretive yet popular cult. It could actually be a direct threat to your own efforts.
Be right back. Sorry.
Immediate threat to. Sorry, your voice is cutting.
So it could be a direct threat to your own efforts. Not so much that you are worshipping the same things, but that they could be going after the same people.
Right. So, because by the way, it will be good if you can change the server. Secondly, because we are separated, I guess Sybil is just going to summon a owl or a bird that can see in darkness. Probably, yeah. Summon a bird which can see in darkness rather easily. And
Okay,
she's just
go ahead and
going
make your roll. It's going to be at a +1 difficulty because
Okay.
you are in the middle of this big city.
Right, you're correct. So, there's charisma, survival, which I find pretty strange, and then difficulty is up. Let me botch this, please. Okay. Ooh, this was
Okay. A single barn owl shows up.
cool. Yeah, am I gonna possess that one?
Okay.
And possessing. What was it? I think it was intelligence. I don't know if it was intelligence. I think intelligence was for the obfuscate. Let me check it. VTM. Ah, Jesus. Ooh, that was fast.
Animalism, subsume the spirit. Manipulation plus animal can, difficulty 8.
Oh, cool, perfect. Animal can, difficulty 8. not the easiest thing. 2.
Okay.
I wonder which disciplines can
You
I
can
use. I wonder.
use auspex and other sensory powers.
Which I do not have. Nice. Okay, yeah. So I just fly up to the sky, and I'm just going to fly on a medium height, and just try to find a bunch of women running through the streets. This is a big city, so I guess I will start patiently.
Okay, click on the map. Let me know where you're starting.
Okay.
Give me a
So
vicinity.
can you tell me where I am right now? Can you like
right
do
around
something like-
here somewhere?
Okay. So I think even if this is wrong, even if this is old times, this is wrong. So people will be rather too much here. So I think my character will start somewhere here where people are more scared. Where women can, as a group, run through the streets without really getting noticed by another huge number of people. So I will start somewhere here.
Okay, so
No.
that part of the city is a number. It's still a huge refugee camp, really, to be honest. It's not so much tents anymore, but the structures are still pretty rickety. They're not very well constructed. Extremely crowded. There's still people everywhere. The sight of a barn owl, if anyone even bothers to notice it, is of no concern to anybody. So you begin flying, and the first thing you notice is that there are people outside everywhere, escaping the heat.
I understand. But I don't see any women, right?
No, you don't see any women dancing and partying in the street, unfortunately. No groups, anyways.
Is Campania somewhere in Rome?
Campania is a couple days travel south of Rome.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought
It's actually a big region. It's a geographical region.
Okay, I understand. Then I'm going to this side maybe here.
Okay.
Here.
It's going to take
near the
you
river.
a long time to scout that area. Most of the night, in fact.
I'm back. What I missed?
I mean, I think my character doesn't really have so much to do, so I guess I can spend my night doing that.
Okay.
I will probably not feel if they try to move me, so my body is in the possession of the coterie, right?
Yes.
My
it is.
original body. Yeah, so if you guys want to kill Sybil, you can do it pretty easily. But yeah, I'm going to scout this area. Here.
Okay. So if you try to stay during the day, you still must roll to stay awake.
What is that roll?
So page 360 in the book. Flipping to it.
By the way, would it be appropriate to say my goal is in the scientific part of the city life?
We'd have to work out what your ghoul is, where he's studying, because the vast majority of the big libraries are taken by other people's domains. Those were snapped up pretty quickly.
I understand.
Paul, your headset's buggering up again. Oh, it was.
So I believe it's a willpower roll, but I don't know what's the difficulty.
Should be good now.
Hallucination, sedatives, poison, sunlight, deadly, soaking sunlight,
I think we can do
turns, temperature extremes. Well, that's not right there.
Yeah, I think it's been temperamental again.
Frenzy. Role-playing frenzy. Fire, faith.
No, that didn't fix it.
Yeah, I'm still flipping through to find the system. But so you're out scouting. La Vienna and Albina. What are your plans for the night?
Alvin is going to try to get a bit of more information, try to get into locate on the goals of this code. Okay. And she's going to be trying to locate her by making usage of the no routes that they take, the no locations that they use for the ritual.
Okay. So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have to talk with a bunch of people who might know that. So you're going to roll charisma plus contacts. So your charisma plus your contacts rating.
Okay, and contacts of 0 increases difficulty by.
It doesn't increase difficulty because it's a background. It's just you don't have a lot of people who know things. So it's basically just on you.
Tinting voice does applies for this?
No, because it's not that people are unwilling to talk to you. It's that you're just trying to find somebody who knows the information. That's why there's no skill involved in it. Just it's more of this kind of a luck thing. All right, you do spend some time, couple hours, engaging in conversation with people. Not really. Don't really find anybody who knows anything. Rome is a big city. It happens.
Okay. Would she be able to perhaps try to find about Enya instead of focus on the cult as a whole, just focus on the woman?
Yes, you could. How are you doing that?
Does she knows about Enya's what should be her social status? Like if she should be a patrician, if she should be a plebeian, what kind of place should my frequent, stuff like that.
Okay, well, she's not Roman. She is not a Roman citizen. Because she's not from Rome.
So she's a plebeian.
So she's plebeian.
So she's going to look for places that are likely for non-citizens to converge. Try to look for communities of foreigners.
All right,
and
so
stuff like
roll a wits plus legerdemain. Okay, one success, wits plus legerdemain. What you are going to be looking for is going to be on the western part of the city at somewhere. With one success, you know that. The major communities of immigrants and plebeians are concentrated outside the western walls, west and south.
Okay, so she had some to the north and tries to search among them communes of Greeks and Etruscans.
All right. So just click on the map for me. Where are you going?
To
Okay.
the
So you head up
uh,
north.
for,
Yeah, you head north, searching those communities. You spend quite a lot of time up there, and unfortunately, you don't really find anybody who knows what's going on. Um, there's a bunch of immigrants up there, a bunch of people speaking different dialects. Uh, they're all very poor. Nobody seems to understand exactly what you're looking for or if they've heard of it. So, kind of struck out.
okay.
All right. Labiena, what is your strategy?
Okay. So, admittedly, I'm still kind of catching up and figuring out what happened last time. So,
It doesn't
whereabouts are we
really.
at the moment?
So you guys are basically in the middle of Rome, in the huge metropolis. So this area in the center is a huge valley. Very swampy, very wet ground. Uh, Artemis, her territory is the Aventine Hill. So she's up here somewhere. The Palatine Hill is here. Actually, right there.
Well, you're cutting in and out, dude.
So where I'm clicking, that's the Palatine Hill. Yep, right there. Artemis is down here on the Aventine Hill.
Yeesh.
Kalian Hill.
You
And
might need
then-
to change the server again.
Yeah, I can.
I'm also trying to refer back to the summaries of the last two. It's part of.
Okay. All right, so yeah, you guys have established your cult in the teeming, filthy, crowded masses here in the valleys and low-lying areas of Rome. So you've got a spot somewhere in these valleys down here. That you can call your own.
Right.
So it
Also
doesn't
saw-
look big on the map, but this is actually a very crowded and very populated area. It's very crowded with people.
Alright. Also, I just wanted to clarify something. Because I wasn't there, you basically said that Labian was engulfed in vision. Just wanted to clarify if anything in that vision might be able to help us. I don't know. You can
No,
possibly
it was
use that.
very, very much. That was related to the game itself. I was hoping you would show up so I could
Yeah.
relate it to what we were doing.
That's why I thought I'd check and just see if that we could possibly use that somehow. I don't know. So at this stage, though, I think Labiena might actually want to put a bit more focus on her own, excuse me, worship. So that's probably all she'd want to do this night.
Okay, yeah, you can do that. So you are focusing on building the cult and building your portion of the cult. The
Yeah.
death and rebirth portion of it.
Yeah. Follow Serranus.
All right. Do you have anything in particular you would like to do?
Um. Well, been kind of reading up on it. The ritual that I found, I don't know if she'd want to do because it involves burning wood. So, I mean, she'd be tempted to try and gather a group of humans together who also kind of follow the path and try and have them do the ritual.
Okay, so we're gonna make a charisma plus theology roll. You're gonna be preaching. Now remember that your eerie presence flaw and your social flaw, so your okay. Charisma plus
Well,
theology or charisma plus expression, whichever. Now first we're gonna roll charisma plus expression at diff 6. You're gonna write a speech.
Ooh, she's got no expression.
Okay. Well then just charisma, or then just wits. Just wits. Roll wits.
Wits. Okay.
Yep. We're gonna
Did you
try
say
to give
div
you.
6 for this one?
Yeah, just diff 6. I'm gonna write you a speech.
Fingers crossed on this one.
Very nice.
Nice.
All right. Charisma plus theology plus 3 extra dice at diff 9.
Wow.
Begin
This-
proselytizing to the masses.
So,
What?
okay. You said charisma plus theology plus 3?
Charisma plus theology plus 3.
You can do it. Just do it.
Spell diff 9. This bitch thing. Now.
Make sure twice before pressing enter.
I know for a fact that her theology
It's pretty good.
specialty is going to apply here.
Theology specialty. Wow.
I mean, yeah. I mean, she's a
Wait.
priestess.
Yeah, that didn't quite
Did
come
that
out right.
work?
That did not come out right.
Wonder why. That's worked for me in the past.
Ooh,
So-
5 dice. Nice.
That's weird. That why has? I'll just add it all up. Bugger it.
I think you don't have to put like plus to the bonus dice. You can just, I will write the total. Yeah, like 10
Oh,
d10.
Yeah, I know, but it's just weird that that didn't work for me because it's worked for me before.
They
Anyway,
they might have
I'll just
changed
do it this
the
way.
they might have changed the system or something.
Maybe. Wow.
Oh, so
Are
close.
you kidding?
Wait,
Are you kidding?
10, 1, 10.
No, the 10, you have specialties, right? So, 2
Yeah.
successes.
But
Nice.
then the
Ooh.
ones cancel those out. Oh, well, yeah.
You have 2 10s.
Yeah.
Without the ones, it'd be 4 successes.
Fair.
All right.
Oof.
You
Thanks to special.
begin to wander the streets, preaching about Dissipator and how the death is not just death, but it's a natural progression of life, and through believing in Dissipator, your spirit lives on to protect your family, and you begin tying it into the Roman paterfamilias and the guardian spirits as you wander and preach, and you actually attract a crowd of 7 or 8 people. who begin to listen to what you're actually saying.
That's cool.
So you're basically standing on a corner, preaching. Some people show up and they actually seem interested.
Nice.
Yes, go on, tell us more. Tell us more. What else does this Peter have to say to us? What can we do?
Well, the out of character. This probably won't be very good given I've only done kind of basic research on it at this stage, but let's see. Well, the best thing we can do is to show him our what's the word? Devotion by, I suppose, in a sense, testing our resolve and showing him just how much we're willing to devote ourselves to him and our um, oh, yeah, I can't explain myself very well.
Well, but how? Tell us how. How do you show devotion to him? What does he demand?
Well, yeah, over glowing embers as a show of our strength and resolve. He would ask no less. But I believe it is a fitting way to show our gratitude and devotion because he looks after us all.
You say that Dies Pater is the god of wealth, that he showers his worshippers with riches from the underworld. We are but poor, broken people listening here with you. We do not have wealth and jewelry to offer to him. You know enough about him. Tell us how can we worship him without money, without gold to give to his altar?
Well, it is not just the wealth of riches that we can offer him. You know, the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of love that we can offer him. You know, if we show him our unwavering love, then he will be just as what's the word? He will be just as I'm terrible at this kind of thing.
They're gathering around you. Actually, they're actually starting to crowd you a little bit. Tell us how. There's so much that we don't know that to be blessed with the riches of the nobles and the patricians, to be blessed as the consuls with money, power. There's so much we would do for that. Just you have to tell us how.
Well, you merely just have to sacrifice yourself through potential out of character, not death, but I just I need to do a bit more research on this. And he just merely asks that you show him in whatever way you can that you're willing to endure pain and perhaps even die for him.
Do you
And I
have
suppose
an altar? Does he have an altar that we can worship? Where can we find you to learn more?
There is an altar. I do know of one where I used to live. However, out of character, is there a temple in Rome somewhere where a ritual like that could be performed?
You should be right now. You should be saying, "Come to my cult headquarters and offer your worship."
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I'm like, hold on. There might be. Just let's see if I have.
I think you just succeeded.
No, I believe I have, but yeah.
So what's left is just,
I
you
should
know,
just get them to follow La Vienna.
if you like and if you want to, or
Okay, yes, they begin following you. Yes, show us. Show us.
Yes. Hey, I will show you the way.
So this crowd of 6 or 7 people are following you. Wend your way through the labyrinth streets. Make your way back to the cult headquarters. You bring them to the altar / stage of preaching. Is this where we worship? How do we worship? How do we show him our devotion?
Okay, yes, indeed. This is where we do perform this is where we do our worshipping. Now, for starters, if you could all find some planks of pine for burning, that will be a wonderful start. Like, it's
Okay.
I only say that
give me
because
a charisma plus leadership roll to start whipping them up into a more religious state of ecstasy. Charisma plus leadership.
hang on, what plus leadership?
Charisma.
does your flows affect this?
Yes, it does.
Ooh, because I was about to say I don't have any leadership. I've got to fix that.
Well, at worst, they just leave. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
At best, you can spend.
This is where you need
willpower if you
Hatshepsut
want.
and presence. That would come in really handy.
You
That
know what would be
come very
funny?
handy.
You know what would be funny? Your character getting a presence with those flows, and it would be pretty funny, you know. They just want to
So-
leave, but they can.
So what was it that was going to affect my roll?
Your flaws, your clan flaw, and your eerie presence.
All right, so is that going to affect the dice pool or the difficulty?
I believe it just affects the difficulty. I think it's a cumulative +3, if I remember correctly.
So what will that make the difficulty?
10.
Do you?
Oh gee,
Do
'Cause you don't have
remember
leadership.
Do you
can
remember
I use
your flows?
willpower?
Yes, you can.
Thank God for that. I'm definitely using willpower.
If you can do 10, you can still do it.
Okay, here we go.
I did it with 1 dice, so you can do it too.
Goddamn.
Ugh. Okay, well, they're all like, I don't know, this kind of a big effort, and they're getting bored and they start to wander off.
That's nice.
Reroll.
You didn't botch though. You can try to save it. You can make the roll again.
Yeah.
With +1 difficulty.
That would add +1 to the difficulty, wouldn't it? Or would it?
No, it's you're gonna lose a couple of them, but you can try it again. No, wait, don't leave yet. I haven't told you the best part.
But wait,
Exactly.
there's more.
But wait, exactly. That is steaks, nice. I'm joking. Alright, let's see how this one goes.
Sign up and bring a friend and each get a Ginsu knife. Free Gladius. Hey, there you go.
That's it.
With
Free
the
Gladius.
willpower. 2 of them stick around.
Woohoo!
And they're like, okay. So they go get some 4 or 5 some wood scraps and stuff from that they peel away, and some burnable stuff. They put it in a big pile on the floor. Well, now what?
Okay. Now,
For
what you
yourself.
have to do is set it alight and then wait for it to burn down to ember.
So they start looking around. They're like, okay. Hey,
there
as
any
it turns out,
torches
one of them
lying around?
knows how to start a fire.
Oh, there you go.
They get a fire going. They're like, you got any wine to drink? You got something for us to eat, maybe?
Out of character, this is at the HQ, the
Yes.
headquarters of the cult. There is almost certainly some Typhon through around there somewhere. It won't actually give them blood because they aren't ghouls yet, but it will feed them.
That actually
But
sounds
it
quite
is
good.
an alcohol, right? So it has this alcohol
Yep.
effect.
It's beer that vampires can drink.
Right. Well, is it also beer for the humans?
Yes.
That means Labiena can drink it as well.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
You
sure.
draw off 3 draughts of it and hand it out to them, and you take some yourself. Begin drinking it. Begin telling stories. They're asking you about the worship of these pater. As the fire burns and burns and then burns low, and pretty soon it's ashes and hot embers in the fire pit.
Okay. So Labiena stands up and turns to them. Okay, now, the moment of truth. All you need to do is walk across the embers to show your devotion to our God.
They're like,
Now,
you first.
is there something I can do to... I don't think I have that ritual or power yet.
Well, it's embers. What it is going to be a courage roll and then a fortitude soak at a very low difficulty.
Might be manageable. I mean, it's
Yep.
not like they're going to immediately see the bottom of her feet and how it reacts to the fire
Yeah, is
onto
this
the
a ritual?
embers.
I mean,
It's a ritual, yeah.
so
I mean,
go ahead and make your courage roll at difficulty 3.
okay.
That's an easy thing to do.
Where's my courage at?
Do not jinx her. Please do not jinx her.
Thankfully, I have very high courage, so...
Yeah.
Don't
that's
jinx
going to be
yourself
fine.
either!
What?
Don't jinx yourself either!
I'm not jinxing myself. Anyway, here we go.
And botches.
Nope.
Excellent. You have
No way in
no
hell that was
fear
happening.
at all. You step onto the hot coals, and you begin to carefully walk across. Fortitude only, soak, difficulty 4, fire damage to your feet.
Okay, so hang on.
With this is
So
1. You only got
regular
to soak
just-
1. So,
Yeah. So it's usual stuff, stamina plus fortitude?
nope, just
or just
fortitude.
Oof. Well, I've only got $1 fortitude, but anyway.
You can do it.
It'll be fine, because it'll be minimal damage anyway, even if it doesn't work.
Yeah, the
In my
worst case,
understanding, I think.
the worst case, you botch going to your haven and then you come up to a werewolf and you die.
Mm. What difficulty did you say it was?
4. What ritual is this, by the way?
Sorry?
So what ritual is this?
Oh, this was something I found. Where was it?
It's not in the main book, is why I ask.
I did find this book.
Like Rites of the Blood or something.
Where Apollo Soranus is apparently called Herpes Sorani. That's the other name. Herpes wouldn't have it.
This is some bother.
I don't think it gives a name for the ritual. But it just basically said about
So
a pile of wood had to be burned down, and then the priests walked barefoot without feeling any pain.
Okay.
Now, it also states that they apparently perform their walk 3 times, carrying offerings to the god.
I think she's talking more in terms of religious ritual than the mechanical one.
Okay.
Oh, I think it's just...
So this isn't an actual necromancy ritual, it's just a religious ritual.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you go ahead and make your fortitude roll.
44.
Fortitude. Oh yeah.
Okay, that's all you needed. You perform the walk, and they look at each other in amazement. They've never seen anything like this. Like, this should be impossible. Your feet should be on fire. But they're fine. And they're amazed. And they both do it across, and they look at each other. The power of God is real. This pater protects us. Oh! Like their eyes get huge. I do believe you have a couple of converts on your hand.
Very nice.
Well done.
But indeed, that is what happens when you put your full faith in Dispater. All hail Dispater.
All right, Hatshepsut and Nicodemus, you come back from the birthing ritual and ceremony to see 2 mortals and celebrating with La Vienna, raising aloft a toast of Typhon's brew. All hail Dispater! All praise be to the god! May he shower us with wealth and blessings as we show our devotion. And they keep walking across this small bed of coals over and over. And they're getting progressively drunker, all of them.
That's probably why they aren't noticing the pain so much.
Probably.
Pretty soon, they do eventually pass out and go to sleep. They will be continuing. They will help you spread the word.
Oh,
Nicodemus looks towards Alabiana and I do hope they're getting some sort of benefit from all of this, right? Take a quick look.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
In my clan, there is a who, for those among us who do not in some manner look after their followers. It is not a
They-
word that is, well, we tend to call them as sirens, and it is not a term one wants to be branded with. You can rest assured that I do what I can to provide for them in exchange.
Nicodemus crosses the distance between Hatshepsut and himself, and he looks her straight dead in the eye. And will I see the same sort of conviction for a fellow convertees the way I saw for all? And he nods towards the entrance to the area where the birth has been given to the women that just performed a miracle of life. Or is it just a face?
Out of character, what was that? I couldn't fully understand that. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Okay. Nicodemus crosses the distance between himself and Hatshepsut, and he looks her straight dead in the eye, and he asks, "Is it something that you're fully convicted of, as the same thing I just saw back there?" And he points where the woman gave the birth to a child. Back there, are you fully standing behind your words as the
Absolutely.
miracle of life that we just saw back there?
Absolutely.
He clearly seems agitated because this whole cult thing seems like an
Okay, guys.
well,
I
it's
think
best that it works out like so.
it's a good point to pause for tonight.
Mhm.
Everybody gets an experience point for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed doing the Eternal Senate thing. If you did, we might do that. We might do it one or two more times. Just because I don't. Part of it is because there's a lot of time that we're skipping over, but there's some important political things that happen in the background, and I think we get more out of it if I can say, show you guys that yes, we've participated, even though your characters themselves aren't really involved. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, in that case, all right. So we're going to be meeting again in 2 weeks. So the 21st. I'll be on for a little bit if anybody wants to keep talking. Well, thanks everybody for listening tonight. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the political interactions. There will be some more of that up in the future. If you have any suggestions, comments, we'd like to hear from you. Leave us a comment. And hope you guys have a great evening.